All right, and hello everybody. It's time for the final Critics' Choice Award nomination predictions, and we've got that to talk about today. And there was also a couple things I wanted to say, of course, about because this show ultimately leads up to the Oscars and everything we do here. We've got to talk about or not Chris Rock. I'm sorry, Kevin Hart. We got to talk about Kevin Hart. Chris Rock maybe replaces him. Okay, we'll see. But yeah, we'll get to that. I have a few things to say about that as well. So we're going to save that for the end. We're going to start with what we're really here for, and that is the predictions. Okay, so of course these are coming out tomorrow morning. I've looked up various times. I cannot find a start time for when they're going to do these nominations, or if they're even going to announce them live, or if it's just going to be a press release. They've done them live before. Like I remember 2 years ago they did. And I remember I caught it like right as the second half of the nominations were being announced. I was like, oh shit, it's too late to record them or anything. But yeah, and of course, 2 years ago and the year before, they were freaking stupid with the way they announced it. It was just, they announced it like the last week of November, first week of December, something like that. And then the awards were like the next week. It's like, oh, that was stupid. Anyway, so this year they're back on track like they were last year, announcing after Globes, doing the award show after Globes and before SAG, if everything lines up correctly again. I think it does this year. So yeah, I will, if it's live tomorrow, I will do it live. If not, do it live! Fuck it! That guy, I can't remember his name now. Whoever, the anchor guy. Okay, anyways. I'll do it live tomorrow. If not, then we'll, as soon as it's released, I will go ahead and do a brief video on that. Again, I have to write also for Cultured Vultures, get that article up too. So, without further ado, let's get into the nomination predictions here. Now, we're just going to do the top categories here. It's like for score and song and all that. It just gets complicated, and then also, you have all these Critics' Choice nominations for like best movie, best action movie, best comedy movie, best this and best bullshit that, and best fuckadoodle here. It's like, oh my god, it just gets insane. And why in the hell they would broadcast all that, like best movie, best action movie, and best actor in an action movie, best actress in an action movie, whatever. It's like, I don't know. It starts to get into the People's Choice Awards material for me, at least. I think it just gets stupid like that. And why why they would broadcast that over stuff like screenplay. A few of the tech categories that are very important. It just bugs me, absolutely bugs me. So anyway, so we're just going to leave it at animated, ensemble, screenplay, the four acting, directing, picture. So we're just going to do those. What would that be? 10 categories? Yeah, 10. Okay, so start with animation. I think it's going to be the same lineup as we had at the Globes, and that's Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs, Mireille, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, I think it's as simple as that. I don't really see them going outside the lines there. If they do, maybe something like The Grinch gets in, which I don't know why it would, because it's not exactly a critical favorite. Stuff like that. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Okay, ensemble category. This is always a mysterious one. This is always one that it's really tough to predict. But anyways, we'll try it here. So my five are Black Panther, Crazy Rich Asians, If Beale Street Could Talk, The Favorite, and Vice. So yeah, these five, I mean, you look at, The Favorite is probably one that's going to get nominated everywhere for its ensemble. You've got here, you've got SAG. I'm trying to think if there was any other ensemble big prizes at these televised ones. No. So I think the same goes for Vice. I think Vice will probably get in at SAG too, get, a boatload of nominations there. Beale Street I can see getting in because it's a very diverse cast, and, you've got a mix of white and black actors, and you've got a lot of them very talented, and a lot of them have kind of been, if they're not front and center for a lot of these award conversations, definitely like Regina King is, a lot of them have been, talked about, like Stephen James and Kiki Lane and Brian Tyree Henry and a few others. Crazy Rich Asians, I think, gets in because of, well, number one, it was, very well received critically. The same goes with Black Panther, too. I'm thinking, again, they want to go for that diversity factor for sure. So those are the five there. These five could definitely easily repeat at the Screen Actors Guild for their top ensemble prize. The only thing for me is Green Book. I have Green Book getting in over there, so I think I knocked out Black Panther over there. But anyways, we've got SAG coming up on Wednesday of this week, so we'll get those finalized, I think, after tomorrow. And how they go about this category, I think, definitely will help me there. Or I might just reject it all and just go with something totally different. But anyways, we have these 5. Also in the conversation, definitely, I think, is Black Klansman. Again, that's another good mix of white and black actors, and it's definitely, again, a very, very highly critically praised film. I think it's like 97 or 98 on Rotten Tomatoes last I checked, or if not, it's in that range there, upper 90s. And then we've got A Star Is Born and Widows also being talked about here. Now, Widows got a big old goose egg at the Globe nominations. And it is, critically, I think it's around that 90%, 88, somewhere in there on Rotten Tomatoes. So overall, it's very well critically received. Star Is Born is right around the same range there. The thing is, yeah, Widows, it's one, it's done pretty well critically, and I personally really liked it, but it's just, box office-wise, too, it's just been a disappointment, and so far it's been a big disappointment, awards speaking as well. So I'm thinking that one, I don't know, I'm just kind of ditching that one, and I think I ditched it for SAG, too. I can't remember who else I put in there, but anyways. Yeah, Star Is Born also, and this and Green Book kind of have the same problem, as it's really, with the exception of Sam Elliott in Star Is Born, it's really a two-hander for both films. You've got both Viggo and Mahershala Ali leading Green Book, and they're really about it. Like, Viggo, looking at that film again, I think he's in, like, every scene. Like, he's almost, practically in every shot of the movie. And Mahershala is in a lot of the stuff, too. He's very, very much, those two are the front and center ones of the film. Then you do have, like, Linda Cardellini's in there and a few others, but it's like they're really background, and yeah. So that would make sense if it missed out for SAG, but I think it's going to get in. And then Star Is Born, yeah, you've got the same problem there, where it's really just Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper for the most part. Yeah, sure, Sam Elliott gets some stuff here and there. He missed out at the Globes, but I still have him getting in here. We'll talk about that with supporting actor. But it's that one's kind of tough, too, so that's why I have that one out. Let's see, other than that, I'm thinking those are really about it for this category, unless they go crazy and put Mary Poppins in, but I don't think so. Okay, getting into the screenplays now. Adapted screenplay, I have Black Klansman, Beale Street Could Talk, Can You Forgive Me, Crazy Rich Asians, and A Star Is Born. Yeah, I think that's going to be about the lineup there. The one exception, some people talk about Widows still in this category, but I don't know. Another one I would love to see get in, I don't know if it will or not, but I'd love to see it get in, is The Hate You Give. Audrey Wells, I believe, is the screenplay on that, and she actually recently passed away. I think she passed away right as the film opened, and it's a good script. It's my favorite film of the year so far, and yeah, I just really like the screenplay. I like the film, so it'd be nice to see that one get in, but unfortunately, it's just not really picking up enough steam at any of these. Again, it's like Widows; it's just not doing well overall. Yeah, I think those are the 7 I think that it comes down to, because I don't, First Man is still out there, and it is Josh Singer. He's been nominated quite a few times at these different ones for Spotlight and Post last year, but that one I think really is losing steam here. Going over to the original screenplay prize, my 5 here are 8th Grade, Green Book, First Reformed, The Favorite, and Vice. I try to get these in alphabetical order, but anyways. And I know Roma did get in at the Globes. I recently pulled it out for screenplay just about everywhere, but I don't know. I just have a feeling that, especially with like First Reformed and 8th Grade, it's like those two are big critical hits. And First Reformed missed out for screenplay too at the Globes. But yeah, I'm thinking they'll want to include those. Vice, I think, gets in. Green Book and The Favorite, I think, are locks at this point. Regardless, those two are getting in. Vice could fall to the wayside, though, maybe, just maybe, because, and it did get in at the Globes, it got 6 nominations, sure, but I've heard through the grapevine, and critical reviews are embargoed for, I think, another week or so, something like that, until it opens, it opens Christmas Day. I don't think they're going to hold it that long, but I think they're going to hold it a little longer. From what I hear, some critics are very divided on this, so if that is truly the case, we could see it start to miss out on this category, maybe supporting actor. Director is definitely vulnerable if that's the case. So yeah, yeah. If not, maybe this one goes over well like it did at Globes. So yeah, I think really it comes down to Roma is also in the discussion here because remember it's only 5 in this category and it adapted 2. Then it gets to 6 with the acting and directing categories. Yeah, I think it's those 6, and then maybe something like A Quiet Place could also contend there for original screenplay. Again, that's another one that's in the 90s on Rotten Tomatoes, very popular film as well. But yeah, I think it's really those 6, with the exception of maybe Quiet Place, which could sneak in there. Yeah, of course. Anyway, so moving on to supporting actress, my 6 here are Amy Adams for Vice, Claire Foy for First Man, Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk, Emma Stone for The Favorite, Rachel Weisz for The Favorite, and Michelle Yeoh for Crazy Rich Asians. Yeah, I think these are the 6 that are in contention, I think, going forward, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 more, and those 2 would be Nicole Kidman for Boy Erased and Natalie Portman for Vox Lux. And that, I don't know. It's like a curse with me. It's like, when the Globes, because the whole reason I put Natalie in at the Globes for drama actress before was because there was a big press announcement that she was not contending and supporting. She was going lead, or was considered lead by the Globes, and it was in the drama category. And I was like, the last time they did that, it was Viggo Mortensen, and he got in. So it's like, when I don't predict it, it happens. When I predict it, it doesn't happen. So I don't know. Yeah, I think those 8, I think, are who it's going to come down to. But yeah, I think the 6 that I have picked, I think have the momentum and everything on their side. So that's why I'm picking them. Okay, supporting actor next. Okay, my 6 here are Mahershala Ali for Green Book, Timothée Chalamet for Beautiful Boy, Adam Driver for BlacKkKlansman, Sam Elliott for A Star Is Born, Richard E. Grant for Can You Ever Forgive Me, and Sam Rockwell for Vice. Again, I think these are the 6 that are really, really going to get whittled down to the 5 at the Oscars and BAFTA and so on. Again, something, if Black Panther continues to go over well, that could get Michael B. Jordan in. And he also has Creed out right now, so remember that. Yeah, it's possible, but I'm thinking, again, and maybe Vice could fall to the wayside there in this category, and that's where Michael gets in. But yeah. Anyway, if Sam Elliott fails here though to get in with 6, that would be huge. That would be a big sign of, okay, nope, they're going to focus on Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper in the acting categories, and Sam is going to fall by the wayside. But yeah. Let's see, anybody else here? Not really, no. Okay. Okay, moving on to the leading actress category. My 6 are Yalitza Aparicio for Roma, Emily Blunt for Mary Poppins Returns, Glenn Close for The Wife, Olivia Colman for The Favorite, Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born, and Melissa McCarthy for Can You Ever Forgive Me. Let's see. Oh, another thing I forgot. I saw a few movies yesterday too, and one of them was The Wife. So we'll do reviews on those as well at the end. Yeah, I'm thinking these are the 6 here, but again, there's a lot that could happen. This category, I'm starting to think this supporting actor, they're kind of getting a little more fluid. We've got these 6. We've also got Toni Collette in there as a possibility for Hereditary. Again, that's one that's love it or hate it with a lot of critics, so that's what's stopping me from putting it in. And she didn't get a Globe nomination either, so she is starting to flounder a little bit in this, even though the Gotham win and a nomination at Indies too, right? I think. Yeah. Well, yeah, that, and then Viola Davis is another one, but again, it's Widows, and Widows has, not been doing well. Destroyer, Nicole Kidman got a nomination, so I think she's back in the hunt. I think she was really starting to disappear, but now she's back in the forefront. The other one would be another Globe surprise, Rosamund Pike for Private War. She could get in conceivably, but I'm not betting on it right away because that one's in the 80s on Rotten Tomatoes, for the most part did very well. But yeah, I think, I look at it again, it's like, well, it is about a foreign journalist, foreign correspondent, and it is the Hollywood Foreign Press. So yeah, that one would make a lot more sense why that one got nominated. Yeah. Okay, and then we got 6 lead actors here. My 6 are Christian Bale for Vice, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, Ethan Hawke for First Reformed, Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, Viggo Mortensen, Green Book, and John David Washington for BlacKkKlansman. And that's why I think I have John David Washington. I can see him being the Daniel Kaluuya of this year, where he kind of surprises us at the Globes, and then he just keeps getting in. He just keeps getting in there. Yeah, and he's been nominated there was another one he did. He was nominated at Indie Spirits for supporting actor. It was another role he had this year. Yeah, again, this is another category, though, where it's like, okay, we've got these 6, but there's a few more to consider, and those are, particularly Lucas Hedges for Boy Erased, who I think got, some good life support from a Globe nomination there. Same with Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gate. Those two are definitely, I think, vying for one of those spots. Ryan Gosling, First Man, is one. He could continue to fall by the wayside here. Missing out of the Globes for him was gigantic. I actually pulled him out of Oscars, too, and just put in Rami Malek for now. Yeah, anybody else here that's coming to mind? No, I think it's really those, that'd be 9 potential nominees that it's going to get whittled down to. But I'm confident in my 6. Even though Hawk missed out at the Globes, I can see him getting in here at Critics' Choice. Probably gets in at SAG from there. BAFTA could go either way, but yeah, he's another one. Hawk, if he misses this one, then, I think we have to consider pulling him everywhere else, because then it's like, okay, it really depends on who they land on. Is it going to be Lucas Hedges who gets that spot, or is it going to get Willem Dafoe, or is John David Washington going to fall out and both of them get in? Then we're kind of screwed. then it's a coin flip kind of thing. Okay, moving over to the directing category. My 6 are, let's see again if I can get these in alphabetical order. Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, Alfonso Cuarón for Roma, Peter Farrelly for Green Book, Richard Jenkins for If Beale Street Could Talk, Spike Lee for Black Klansman, and Yorgos Lanthimos for The Favorite. Yeah. That's the thing is these 6, you've also got Adam McKay, who got nominated at the Globes for Vice, and you had Yorgos and Barry miss out at the Globes. So you've got those 7 there. Ryan Coogler for Black Panther is one that could happen. Again, Black Panther is another one in the upper 90s on Rotten Tomatoes. And Coogler, he's been the name that's really been talked about over the last few years as a real director to consider. I'm thinking it's probably those 8 that it comes down to. Damien Chazelle for First Man is one early on. We would have thought was an easy bet, but now his film is really falling apart with these awards and stuff, so I think he's out too. So it's really those 8. Okay, then for Best Film, let's see here again if I can get these in alphabetical. I'll try here. Star is Born, Black Klansman, Black Panther, Crazy Rich Asians, I have in there, 8th Grade, Green Book. Let's see here. Again, I try to get these in alphabetical order best I can. If Beale Street Could Talk, The Favorite, Roma, and last one I have in there is Vice. Okay, so I think these 10 are in definitely, in the conversation at least. 8th Grade I'm putting in there. It didn't get that Globe nomination for film, comedy, musical, or anything. It did get Elsie in there, but again, that's like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that one can get in. It's gotten in at I think it was on the AFI list, I believe. It was on the 10 best films for a lot of other awards here, so it's been consistent. That First Reformed is another one. Mary Poppins Returns could very easily get in here too. Quiet Place is definitely one that can get in. That's another again, like we mentioned, very popular one. I don't know if First Man can get in. That one again, it's that one's in the 80s on Rotten Tomatoes, so that's a pretty popular one, but still. Can You Ever Forgive Me is one I had in here earlier, but that one disappointed at the Globes with only the 2 acting prizes, no screenplay and no film drama. Anyways, I don't know if Widows would go over well here or not, but if it really does, then I think Widows can take up one of those spots too. But again, it has to get actress, it has to get screenplay, it has to get the fair share of the tech categories like editing and I don't know, the sound category or something. I think there's only one sound category here. Yeah, it would have to do very, very well in those categories, I think, to score a film nomination too. But I don't know. I just don't think it's in the cards right now. But that's just me. All right, so those are my predictions for Critics' Choice. Critics' Choice, I think, other than this and BAFTA are the 2 that you have to take for granted in some ways, and you have to kind of say, okay, well, Globes are pretty important, SAG is very important, obviously the Oscars are too. Leading up to the Oscars, I mean, and these two are kind of, they'll tend to go, BAFTA and Critics' Choice tend to go their own way sometimes. BAFTA, of course, in the old days when they did it way different and they didn't line it up to be with the Oscar season, sometimes they had films come out over here. They weren't in contention at BAFTA for another year, year and a half, so you have to consider that too. But of course, that's the old system. I think since then they've started to convert more toward predicting what the Oscars are going to do. Anyways, so that's my piece on that. Yeah, let's. Oh boy, what do I want to get into here first? Do we want to tackle the Kevin Hart thing, or do we want to go into? I don't have a ton to say about the films I saw yesterday. Let's do that first. The first one I saw was The Wife with Glenn Close. I didn't love it. I'll be honest. I was pretty fairly mixed on it. Glenn Close does a good job, her standard good job. She gets not a lot to do in the first two acts of the movie. It's finally in the third act when she finally gets a couple of good confrontation scenes with Jonathan Pryce, who plays her husband. And, frankly, for me, I think Jonathan Pryce gets the meatier role and he gives the better performance. Just my thinking on it. And I've heard a couple people say that. And that's not to say that Glenn shouldn't be nominated or anything, but if she wins for this one, it's definitely going to be the Lifetime Achievement thing. It's much less on her actual performance in the film, but sometimes, it comes down to that, Well, everybody say Paul Newman's best performance was Color of Money. Would everybody say that Julianne Moore's best performance is Still Alice? That one I can hear more of an argument for, but, yeah. Sometimes it's just those Lifetime Achievement awards. Let's see, what else do I want to say about it? I like the story of it. I went into it not knowing a ton of what the movie was about, but I generally liked the story. It got pretty predictable by the end, though, and actually a little over dramatic by the end too. It's like almost Shakespearean, but in that contrived and kind of cliched way. So I didn't really enjoy that as much. But yeah, so overall I was mixed on it. I thought performances definitely helped. The screenplay was decent. So yeah, I gave it a 7 out of 10. It's fine. It's one to maybe rent when it comes out on Redbox. Second one I saw was Creed 2. I was a gigantic fan of the first Creed. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Cried 3 times at the theater when I saw it. But the second one, I really liked where it picked up with the characters. I thought the boxing matches and all that was very predictable, very cliched, very done it, very by the book. Where I liked it, though, was, again, where it got into the characters. When we further saw how Rocky is in his old age, when we kept getting into Adonis Creed, and now his relationship with his, what's her name, Bianca, and with Tessa Thompson, and how they kind of go about their relationship now, and as we see in the trailer, they eventually have a child, and how that goes about was some of the best stuff in the movie, personally, when they get into that whole, personal side of him. Really, I think, is a big improvement on a lot of stuff over the original Rocky films, where it's like the original Rocky films, yeah, they were mostly about, especially when you get into 3, 4, and 5, or, well, 3 and 4, let's not talk about 5. When they got into the boxing matches, that's really where the focus was on 3 and 4, and it was very much less about Rocky's personal life. I think Rocky 1 and 2 are a lot more about Rocky as a personal figure, and the fights were kind of just stuff that had to happen, which was, I think, was what Creed was too. The first Creed. I know that's weird. Now I have to. You can get confused with that. I get it. But Creed 2, I think, kind of has its cake and eats it too, with the way that it handles the boxing matches and also gets into the personal life of Adonis. It does, for the most part, both of them well, but I found myself getting actually a little bored with the boxing stuff, which was never a problem in the first Creed. The first Creed, especially the second big boxing sequence, where it's the one-shot thing where Adonis really becomes his own person when Rocky's in his corner for the first time. Oh, I can go back and watch that over and over again, and it's always entertaining. Very, very well done. So I did enjoy it overall. I gave it an 8 out of 10. It's not as strong as the first Creed, but still, for a sequel like this, it's a good building block. It's definitely... oh, crap. I didn't really think about it till now. It's like... Because Rocky 2, is not... Obviously, it wasn't as big a player as the first Rocky, awards talking and all that stuff. Rocky 2, for the most part, I found to be it's a pretty good film. There's a couple dumb parts, like the chicken part I could care less about. Stuff like that. There's a couple contrivances and stuff in that, too, for sure. But, I don't know. I'm mixed. I haven't really thought about it that much. I would say probably Creed 2 is better, but it's up for debate, and I haven't fallen on that side yet. And the third one I saw, I've grew up on the Harry Potter films, so I almost feel contractually obligated to see the Fantastic Beasts films, regardless of I'm kind of done with this franchise, frankly. It's very much falling in line with like the Star Wars prequels and the Hobbit films, where it's like they didn't need to do this, and oh, look at this looks terrible. But what's this one called? Crimes of Grindelwald or whatever. This one I think might be one of the worst offenders in some regards. I thought the first half was dumb. I mean, just deplorably bad. Not worthy at all of being in the canon of the Harry Potter franchise, Wizarding World franchise, whatever. First half almost sucked. I mean, like, especially the opening scene. The effects looked like disastrously bad. Everything shot in extreme close-up. I couldn't tell what the fuck was going on. And I was like, okay, so is this character dead, or is this character alive, or what the actual fuck is going on here? The first half, especially that opening 5 minutes or so, is just absolutely terrible. And then there is so much jumping around and so many characters getting introduced only to get killed off, or this character gets introduced, and it's like I just couldn't remember. And frankly, I saw the first one in theater 2 years ago, and I was like, I didn't really love it, but I guess I'll give it a pass, because there were a couple of good elements to it. Especially, I can't think of the guy's name. Jacob, the Muggle character, he is awesome in that first movie, and he's pretty good in this one too. Again, whenever he's on screen, and his story, frankly, became much more interesting as they got into it in the second half of the film. He's very much there to be the comic relief in pretty much the first, I would say, the first 2 acts, and then the third act, when he finally gets a little bit of dilemma and a little bit of character development, and we get to see him and what's her name, Queenie or whoever. We get to see them kind of struggle with their relationship a little bit. Not to give too much away, but there was actually some stuff, very thematic stuff there that I think made the third act really work and really turn the film around. Anyways, but yeah, I'm still very cold on the new character and on his love interest, Catherine Waters. Catherine Waters didn't look like she was bored the entire film. She just looked like she's like, God, I have another 3 of these movies to shoot after this. Sure, she looked miserable being there, yeah. So like I said, there was so many jumping around, so much this and that, and I just got all confused up till there's a scene toward right in the midsection of the film when they go to Hogwarts, and it's like, oh, Hogwarts! Finally, I've been missing this for 6 years, 7 years, however long it's been since the original Harry Potter films wrapped up, because the first Fantastic Beasts was all 1920s New York. It wasn't focused at all on anything going on in England or with Hogwarts or anything else. And I was like, I'm like, oh, yes! And I'm like, show me more of this. Show me more of, stuff that happened at Hogwarts before Harry Potter was even conceived, or his parents were even conceived at this point. It's like, give me more of this, please. This is awesome to see. And I think Jude Law as young Dumbledore, for the most part, really works. I think there's a lot, under the surface that he brings to the surface, if you will. A lot of stuff that he does in the film, a lot of character moments that I really liked, and really show a side to that character that we frankly didn't get to see in the original films, mainly because the author was a little more, how do I want to say this? She wasn't as open about Dumbledore's sexuality and his past and everything in the original book series, but now we can kind of get more into it. I find that fascinating, and I really like the approach of it. And then, yeah, and from there on, I think the film starts to get better and better as we go along. And I thought the last action scenes, actually, for the most part, there's a few really bad close-ups and a few parts where the CG looks pretty bad. But it's a big improvement over the first sequence. Good God. Oh, that first sequence was beyond prequel bad. It was beyond prequel bad, effects-wise, and the way it was shot. Just terrible. Absolutely horrible. I was considering, after the opening scene and it wasn't improving, I'm like, should I just walk out? Should I just give up? But no, I was glad I stuck around, because the ending, I think, worked. And especially, the last few sequences really kind of, I don't know. I don't give this film a positive review. I'm 5 out of 10 on this, but the ending almost made me say, okay, I'm going to stick around. I'm going to stick around and see where 3 goes and where 4 goes or where 5 goes, if they make it to 5. we'll have to see. I forget, how well is this film doing? Because it's not doing extremely well here in the States. I think it's only at 150 million or so. Where's it at world? Okay, worldwide it's 560 million. Okay, so they're probably going to continue. But anyways, so yeah, I gave this one a 5 out of 10. It's yeah, the first half is pretty bad. Second half gets better, but not to the point where I say go out and see it. I'd say if you haven't seen it yet and you're a diehard Harry Potter fan, it's really about it. There's one thing I didn't mention though was there's a lot of winks and nods toward the original book series and the original films, where we get to see either references or some other characters besides Dumbledore who are very young now, and those some of them give or take are decent. There's a couple of them where I was like, oh okay, yeah. And there's a couple where I'm like, ugh, that felt totally shoehorned. So I was kind of mixed on a couple of those too. But anyways, so yeah, that's my feelings on that. All right, well, what else do we have to talk about here? Oh yeah, how about this Kevin Hart thing? Oh boy. Okay, so I do not believe I had anything recorded, or if I did, I'm trying to think. When they announced this on Tuesday, I think. It was Tuesday or Wednesday when they announced it. I forget what day, but I can't remember if I talked about it or not in the Globe video. If I didn't, then I think Kevin Hart is he's a guy when he gets into the movies and stuff, when he's not working with his own material, I don't think he's that funny. Frankly, he just can't really react well to the material he's given, or his improvs on set or whatever in the given situations. I guess never really worked for me. I've seen a couple of his films, but I haven't seen like not Jungle Book, sorry, Jumanji. I haven't seen that one, but from what I hear, that's a better representation of his comedic skills. And I didn't see his stand-up one that he did a couple years ago, but that one I was a lot more interested in seeing than some of his other, like the Ride Along and all those shitty products. Anyways, but I was kind of down for him as an Oscar host. I'm like, okay, I think he can get some pretty, he's pretty popular for the most part with the younger generation and everything. A lot of his films do very well, so I was like, okay, we'll try it. And again, just because I'm not a huge fan of him comedically doesn't mean he can't not be funny. There's a couple parts where he's just, from years ago on like the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon and stuff. A couple clips I've seen where if he's just being him, he can be pretty funny. But for the most part here, yeah, I just haven't found him particularly funny. And a lot of the films he's done, when he's himself, yeah, sure. And what are you going to be when you're an Oscar host? You're going to be yourself. So I'm like, yeah, sure. And then the right-wingers came in. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. The same thing that happened with James Gunn a few months ago. The right-wingers came in, said, we don't like this. We're going to target you. And boom, we found this stuff. And frankly, of course, I'm sick of this shit. I am absolutely sick of this shit. What happened with James Gunn, okay, we can go into this for a little bit because I know it's off topic here, but for me, what he did, yeah, was pretty bad, and it was years ago. So I think he's changed a lot as a person since then, and we're all different people than we were 8-10 years ago. Let's not even pretend that that's not true. Let's not even pretend that, because it's frankly it's a truth that's universal among all of us, regardless of the political correctness of our society, how it's moved on in the last 10 years. We are all very different people. We all have very different tastes than what we had 10 years ago, 8 years ago. It's just a matter of fact. It's a matter of truth. It's who we are as a species, not as individuals, as a species. That's how we are. We are all vastly different people. Years ago. Hell, go back 20 years, go back 30 years, go back 40, 50 fucking years. We're going to be a very different animal than we are today. And that's just not speaking politically. That's not just speaking in terms of how we view others. It's just so much different. In regards of what we say, what we can say, how open what we say, how many people hear it. That obviously, yes, is vastly different. So, just to get that out of the way, I think what happened to James Gunn is he's moved on. I think, for me personally, I haven't loved the Guardians movies, not as much as everybody else has. So if he gets kicked off as director, I'm like, okay, give somebody else a shot then. Yeah, for directing. Where I think and my personal opinion here, he's a much better writer than he is a director. some of the execution stuff in the first two Guardians films is where those films didn't really land for me. A couple spots here and there, pacing issues and so on. A lot of that stuff, sure, some of that comes on the editor too, but the director kind of has to oversee some of that too. So I think he gets a little bit of the blame for those, but I think the script-wise, I think he did, a fairly decent job on those first two Guardians films. So if his script is in for Guardians 3, but somebody else is directing it, which is pretty much the outcome of it for the most part, from what we know now and what remains to be seen, we'll have to see how it changes. But for the most part, right now, it looks like that's the way it's going to go. His script is on, and somebody else is going to direct it. That's pretty much, I think, the best outcome that we could have had for this. Me speaking. And you might disagree. I know Dave Bautista, good God, would he disagree with that. But anyways, that's how it came out, was the way I would have decided it to. Now with this I think is a lot different. Number one, we're not talking about a writer-director here. We're talking about just an actor and a comedian, especially. I'm somebody who believes, and I go back and I watch some of George Carlin's stuff. I go back and I watch, some stuff from, oh shit, what's his name? Richard Pryor. Sorry, I blanked on Richard Pryor for a second there. You go back and you see some of these classic comedians. A lot of the material they handled 20, 30 years ago is stuff that would not fly today. Absolutely would not fly today. And George Carlin, I always think about it when it comes to this with comedy. Because I've had this argument with people before, and they, very politically correct, very woke, SJW, whatever you want to fucking call it. They're very much in the way of, well, that can't be funny because it's not funny at all. And it's like, no, I believe George Carlin when he says anything can be funny. Anything can be viewed as comedy. It depends on the context, depends on how you say it, depends on what you are exaggerate as the joke. I'm not quoting him directly, but that's pretty much what he said. This is probably 20, 25 years ago now. And I think that's the way comedy should be, and I think that's the way comedy for the most part is. And I know there's going to be people that disagree with that, but fuck them. I don't care. We have to be, it gets into areas where it's like freedom of speech comes into question and all that. And I know the freedom of speech argument helps neo-Nazis and it helps bad people like that. Let's not get into that part of it, sure. But that's the difference for me. When you're doing it, you're using freedom of speech, you're relying on freedom of speech when you're a neo-Nazi and when you're being a white supremacist and all that, you're just being a bad person overall. When you're using it in this case to just do your job, just to be a comedian, that's when you can rely on that, and I think where it really helps you. But, again, people disagree. I don't know why, but I don't know. Just makes sense to me. That being said, though, the whole thing with me was Kevin Hart said this stuff about, because it's mainly he was kind of attacking the gay community. Not attacking, making a joke about the gay community years ago. I think they said 2011, 2012, something like that. Since then, he's moved on. He has very publicly admitted, that he's made mistakes in the past, or not mistakes, but, he's told jokes in the past that would not be viewed as funny today. Jokes that he is not currently telling. Jokes that are not in his current repertoire, if you will. So that's how I feel about it, too. It's like, yeah, there's jokes that we got away with, I could say white people, I could say anybody. Jokes that everybody got away with 20, 30 years ago that are not going to get by today. Jokes especially on people of transgender and of the LGBTQ community. Jokes like that, yeah, they're not going to fly today. And I think we need to accept that. We just need to move on. If we're going to tell jokes about that, we need to expect that there might be some drawback. There might be some backlash to that. And I think that's the world we live in. We can't change that. I can't change that. So, okay, we'll just accept it. Move on. So, to that degree, yes, I think that, Kevin Hart did some previous wrongs. Sure. But again, that was 7, 8 years ago. And he's moved on since then. He's become a different person. And James Gunn, you could make the same arguments for. He's moved on. He's become a different person, as we all have. So, but those comments are still there. I think they were a little more derogatory and a little more offensive for the case of James Gunn. Here, they were told in the context of a comedian on stage doing his act, doing his job, even if his job maybe got into some material that, again, today we don't view as very popular or very nice. That was the way it was, and those were the jokes he told. We can't change that. We can't go back and say, oh, yeah. Anyways, so in my regards, I'm thinking, why? Why, other than the right-wingers, Why is this coming up? It should not be an issue. It really shouldn't. Not a huge issue. Now, if you want to dig into it, and then he makes a joke about it later during the television, the telecast or whatever, maybe then, yeah, maybe that's where we bring it up. But it's like, I don't know. It was just absolute stupidity that it led to this. Now his comments, as far as digging in his heels and stuff before he stepped down, maybe if you want to tackle that a little bit, okay, I can kind of see that a little bit, but I don't know. I cared less about that. I cared more about the initial thing that got all this started in the last in the 48 hours between his announcement and his stepping down. It's like, oh, a lot of that stuff bugged me. And one thing I want to point out too is a spokesperson for, I think it's GLAAD, GLAAD. It's somebody, I believe it's a female. I don't remember her name. That's a big spokesperson for the LGBTQ community as well. Made comments like, "We want Chris Hart." Or, God, why do I keep saying Chris Hart? His name is Kevin Hart. God damn it, sorry. We want Kevin Hart on stage because it represents an opportunity for change, an opportunity for people in the LGBTQ community to see, somebody start here in regards to joking about him and stuff, being offensive, start here and go here and realize that change matters, that change is inherent in society. It absolutely is. And I think again, I'm sorry that I can't think of her name because she beautifully summed it up. That's exactly where I land on this. That's exactly where I land on this. I don't get why you wouldn't side with that line of thinking personally. I just don't. It makes sense. It just makes sense. Why would you not agree with that? That's my feeling on it. If you disagree with it, sure, go about your day. But just me personally, it's like that's exactly what needed to be said, and that's it. I mean, come on. We can't, just to go into an example here, we can't all treat everybody like the trials of Nuremberg. All right, not everybody who says a bad joke at some point about a minority should get tried at Nuremberg. It's not a war crime. All right, it's not crimes against humanity. Let's just be clear on that. Please, let's not stoop to that level. That's I was going to say the R word. It's stupid, absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I'll say that R word, not the other R word. But seriously, that's the way it feels sometimes. It's like it's that stupid. It's that ridiculous. It's that redundantly. I don't know. It's just dumbfounded. And, a similar issue we're seeing now is a lot of sensitivity around stuff that's 50, 60 years old. Like, I mean, we're in the Christmas season now, the Rudolph stuff. That's another argument where I'm just like, you people are not getting it. Anybody who complains about that now, I mean, you don't get it. You don't get, the whole idea of what a narrative in film, in television, in short films, in comic strips, whatever. You don't get what narrative is. Narrative is about change. It's about, starting here and ending here. Whether that's an emotional change, physical change, whatever. Doesn't matter. It could be both. It's about change and about how we grow and how a person grows or how a person digresses. Maybe you start here and end here. Different narratives go for different outcomes. But that's the point. Narrative is about change. And, the original Rudolph, it's about change. It's not just about Rudolph's change from, young reindeer into a full-grown reindeer who can help in this situation. It's also about, those other characters, they, without having outward dialogue, and this, God, this really bugged me last year about 3 Billboards, too. It's not like every character who has a change in the movie, emotional change, whether it's like the Sam Rockwell character in 3 Billboards who goes from a very vile, racist character into a much more open character toward the end of the film. You don't have to have a gigantic 20, 30-minute monologue scene of them saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry for all the crimes I've committed. I'm so sorry for everything I've done." We don't need that. Good God Almighty, we don't fucking need that. Is that, seriously, are people so dumb today that they need that in order to know when a character's changing? It's like, that can be summed up in a look. That can be summed up in a 1 or 2 minute scene. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Ugh, it's like let's think of another example. Let's think of Kevin Costner's character in kind of more recent film, Hidden Figures. He starts out he's pretty tough and grit in the beginning of the film, but then toward the middle he starts to change, and especially with the issue of black women at NASA. By the end, not even by the end, by the middle, he changes, and he has the big scene where he knocks down the colored sign, and he says, "We all pee the same color at NASA." I love that scene, but he didn't need to then go up to Taraji P. Henson's character and Janelle Monáe's character and Octavia Spencer's character and say, "You know what, you three ladies, I'm very sorry that this happened, that blah 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 happened, blah blah blah." We didn't need that. You know why? Because just that act of Kevin Costner's character doing that was all we needed. That's all we needed. We didn't need him to go into a big 2-minute, I was exaggerating with the 20, 30-minute thing. But a 2 or 3 minute sequence of them, giving a personal apology. We don't need that. Oh, boy. It's just frustrating sometimes. And this is just my outlook, too. People I know personally who are in the LGBTQ community, a lot of them, and this is just my feelings. I'm sorry if you disagree with this. A lot of them are very, very sensitive, extremely sensitive. If you say one wrong thing or one wrong word, and I admit, yes, the other people are doing the wrongs. Don't misinterpret me there, but it's just some people today really need to grow a backbone, and not just LGBTQ. People in the black community, people in variously in the white community for sure, easily, definitely in the white community, just basically everywhere. People everywhere really need to grow a backbone. That's all there is to it. I was grew up Midwestern kid. We were raised to have a backbone when we grew up. You don't, especially another issue we see today, bullying. A lot of people are wanting like Christmas Story pulled and anything to do with bullying, Rudolph included, pulled because it has bullying in it. It's no, that only helps the people that bully people. Okay, you don't realize that, but that's the fundamental truth of what happens there. That gets them the win, because what happens in those two movies? The bully gets handled. The bully gets handled. Now, sure, the way it happens in Christmas Story, yeah, violence on violence. Yeah, I can get the argument there. But especially with Rudolph, it's like, nah, the people who bullied him eventually realize, oh no, he's a good guy, and he really helped us out. So you know what? Yeah, he's a good guy. We're not going to bully him anymore. And Rudolph, being a good character and not being a pussy, okay, I'm just using him. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. But Rudolph wasn't being a pussy and saying, you know what, Santa, because I've seen that meme go around. You know what, Santa, you're taking advantage of me, blah, blah, blah. Oh, good God, people. Well, number one, it's a fucking Christmas special from 50 fucking years ago. Let that go. And, number two, yeah, it's about change. It's about narrative. It's, anyways, so I'm going to get off my soapbox now. That's enough for me. So, I think everybody gets what I'm trying to say here. I'm just saying, we need to, as a society, we just need to have a backbone. We need to grow up. We need to realize that stuff that was said, whether it was 40 years ago or 50 years ago with these Christmas specials, 10 years ago with the James Gunn or Kevin Hart stuff, it's in the past. And where they are today, where these people are today, especially the individuals, where they are today, for the most part, from what we see, is a pretty different person. Not 100%, but a lot different than what they are now. And I think that's the bottom line. Film narrative, television narrative, it's about change. You start here, you end here. And I think that can also be applied to every human being as a species. We change. We change, people. Just leave it at that. Okay, so that all being said, again, I'm going to, really quickly while I'm here, I'm going to check out and see if we've got any updates on the Critics' Choice nominations announcement tomorrow. I'm just trying to find the time, if they're doing it live or if they're just going to do a press release. Oh boy, I'm not seeing it here. Let's see. We've also got, by the way, LA Film Critics is today. Let's see. I think we'll talk about LA tomorrow at some point or later on in the week. So far, I'm not seeing anything there, and I've got some other stuff to worry about here between now and then. Philadelphia is also today, but again, we'll see. Let's see. Yeah, then we mentioned, SAG, nominations are announced on Wednesday. I'll have a video up on Tuesday, and we'll talk about final nomination predictions there. Talk about what between Critics' Choice and Globes. Okay, how does that change? Where SAG is going to go? Let's see here. Then we've got what else here? Let's see. Going into next week, the short lists come out for the Oscars on Monday. PGA nominations are okay. That's a little ways away. Okay, I was going to say because I see one of the sites I pulled up now, Gold Derby, has kind of the award season calendar here. I'm looking at, and PGA BAFTA voting closes early on here. They're not going to announce for like another 2 weeks. So okay, that's on them. But yeah. So we've really got from here after SAG, we've just got the Oscar shortlists announced on Monday the 17th. And after that, we're kind of done from there up until the Globe nominations or Globe Awards really on January 6th. Before that, though, we do get PGA nominations. We've got WGA nominations, I believe. Or no, WGA is going to be after the Globes. And when is BAFTA and all this? BAFTA is really late this year, January 9th. They're usually right around the new year. But nope, not this time. God, I'm just looking around here. I'm just not seeing anything on this. So yeah, that announced when the show's gonna be. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything. So I guess I'll be up early-ish tomorrow. I don't know. Well, I'm just gonna play the waiting game tomorrow, I guess, until they announce them. But yep, all right. So that's all I've got for now, and we will check in with you guys later. All right, take care.